112 organizations support the National Action Plan on Disability. I'm going to tell you why they support it and how you can help. No one disagrees that Canadians with disabilities are massively unemployed, lacking supports, and living in poverty. Yet governments are not developing programs to address our concerns. 10 years ago, Canadians with disabilities hoped the federal and provincial in unison report would make a difference. It showed the importance of employment, adequate income, and disability-related supports for us. Better government programming in these areas would create an accessible and inclusive Canada where we would be living where we want to live, going to our neighborhood schools, working in good jobs, and being equal. We hoped in unison would lead to improvements. 10 years later, we still don't have the programs we need. The personal, social, and economic costs to Canadians with disabilities are too high to ignore. We wrote our own National Action Plan on Disability and gave it to the provincial and federal governments. It is a roadmap to help people in governments address disability concerns and issues. It covers 4 areas. Firstly, disability-related supports and deinstitutionalization. Secondly, poverty. Thirdly, unemployment. And finally, inclusion. Disability supports and deinstitutionalization are our #1 priority. Without disability supports, we can't be included. Disability supports are job coaches, technical aides, signed interpreters, personal care attendants, and so on. Disability supports help us in school, with childcare, with jobs, in community living, and family life. Government investment in disability supports can change our lives for the better. We want commitments to close institutions now. We must never forget the people that are still in institutions. New initiatives to reduce poverty are required. The poverty of Canadians with disabilities is a national disgrace. We and our families live in poverty and are more likely to live in poverty than other Canadians. Existing income support programs don't work for us. The Government of Canada must commit to addressing our poverty and improving our income support programs. Because disability supports is primarily a provincial territorial responsibility, we want the Government of Canada to address and take on our poverty issues, and thus free up provincial dollars for new disability support services. A first step is to make the Canadian Disability Tax Credit, the DTC, refundable, so that for low-income Canadians. So it helps all persons with disabilities rather than just those of us that are employed. The provinces have to allow those on social assistance to keep the money we would receive from a refundable DTC. Our employment must be increased. The action plan wants goals for employment of Canadians with disabilities in labor market agreements between Canadian governments. The disability community wants the Government of Canada to be a model employer of people with disabilities. We should be working at all kinds of government jobs. We want the federal government to buy accessible products, in particular technology, so that we can use this technology when we are hired. And finally, we need inclusion. We want Canada to adopt a new international law, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Other countries, but not Canada, have adopted it. We want transportation guide regulations to make travel accessible. We want a parliamentary committee on disability issues. What can you do? Download and print the National Action Plan on Disability. Meet with your federal MP and your provincial MPP, MLA, and share the national plan with them. Tell them why the plan is important to you, and ask them to support the programs it calls for.